Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're going to get excited tonight. We're going to have a great show. We're going to have a fun show. We're going to have CB Zane and the Hobcobbler, a.k.a. Michael Shoemaker, in the house tonight. That's right. That's the name we came up with him because, his last name's Shoemaker. So I figured for this stream, we could refer to him as the Hobcobbler since we've donned him with that. So I'm going to share this out one last time here while we go over the sponsors for tonight's show. So first of all, in the house tonight, we have Outpost 426 Studios is a sponsor of Rust Explode Studios. Check out their amazing projects. They were a part of Nebula Pearl. He also has the title Into the Suck, Scorpiana, which is a little bit of what we'll be talking about tonight, as well as The Mighty Might was just funded #1, and it had a prequel in Comic Unity Online Con last year. So if you guys missed that, get in touch with CB Zane, and he can hook you up with some copies of Mighty Might, as well as their upcoming project that we hopefully can spill the beans on tonight, BlackRabbit. I'm super excited about this. We also have Naughty Faeries with Miss Wendy Steen Shaner. Check out the link above in the comments. You can also get the link for that Kickstarter for Scorpiana 3. I will be sharing that in the comments throughout the show. Hit that link for her Etsy page. You can get caught up on all the Naughty Fairy goodness. There's some CB Zane covers on there, some Stuff Wilson covers, some Wendy covers, some Kara cosplay, all kinds of great covers. So if you don't know about Naughty Fairies, head on over to Etsy and check those out. We also have Codex Entertainment LLC, which was the publisher for Nebula Pearl. Check out his projects, Whispers in Necropolis, Lily the Demoness, as well as Ace and Starlet. And soon coming, hopefully in October, he says, we will be having the project VR XOXO, which is pretty cool. I've already seen some previews of it, and it looks amazing. So be prepared for that. We also have Melone Management. Check out Melone Management. Do you have a crowdfunding project that you're working on, something that you're need help with while you keep cranking on your project while they promote it and look up stretch goals? Hit up Lisa Malone with Melone Management. She will give you a free 1-hour consultation, go over all of her services, and she'll let you know what she can take care of for you. And we also have DPopp Customz. Check out DPopp Customz for all those super sweet prints, man. He'll take them, he'll make a border for them, they'll light up, play music, all kinds of cool stuff. You got an idea, shoot it by him. I'm sure he can hook you up with something really cool. So hit up DPopp Customz and he will work something out for you. We also have Hazzum Entertainment. Check out Hazzum.com for Peanut Pudding and Jelly, Pitter Patter 2 and 1. Pitter Patter 2 just funded on Kickstarter. It's a lot of fun. It's for kids. And if you're an adult and you want something a little more horror, a little more gritty, check out Roadkill Rampage. Part 2 will be releasing in a few months. I'm super excited about that. Roadkill Rampage 1 was awesome. So please go check out Hazzum.com. There's also a link in the description for that as well. And last but not least, we have 183 Degree Studio with Alfred Trujillo, Doobie Doobie Doo, and Miss AZ Power Girl, Kara Nicole. Check out their awesome projects, Fire Bitch, all of her super sweet cosplay covers. Go to 183degreestudio.com and check out all the OG art that Alfred Trujillo has on there, as well as prints and many other fine projects. And you can also, when you add them as a friend, there's a link at the top. I need to get that and put that in there. For MailChimp, you can sign up for the newsletter, and they will give you all the news of everything coming up. So, with all that being said, and without further ado, we're going to bring out our guest tonight. We've got Michael Shoemaker, a.k.a. the Hobcobbler. That's you.
Hello, baby.
And we got
shoes at Spider-Man.
Hey, like I said last night, it was last night. You've got killer Crocs and you got flippy floppies.
That's
you got to watch out for those flippy floppies, man. You never seen someone so dangerous as a man chasing after you with his flip flops. Get back here, you sapsucker. What's up? And we've got CB Zane.
Yes.
Woo! What's going on tonight, fellas?
Oh, not too much, man. Just happy to be here on Rust Explodes.
Yeah, when is Russ going to be on the show, Lewis? I mean,
no, he is tied up in the trunk currently. I've got him duct taped, and it's slowly creeping towards the river. So hopefully, the live show's done before the Hyundai goes in the river. If not, well, I guess this is my show. We'll call it Hyundai Studios from here on out.
And yes, hello, Smithers. We are the troublemakers.
We are.
Yeah, not the troublemakers. We don't do a cappella, but Perhaps we're willing to try.
Hey, what's going on, Smithers? And hello, CB and Michael. Hello, Russell. I hope you're doing well, buddy. I know you weren't feeling good the other day, so I hope you are doing better. So
Yeah.
now that we're back to,
There it goes.
look, I was in disguise. I was
Oh,
pretending to be
Russell's
Lewis.
here. Russell,
What's
hey,
going on?
what's up, buddy?
Sorry, I was running a little late. You know, Lewis
Oh.
filled in for me. He broke in.
He did a nice job with the intro.
Oh, did he? I'm glad he did good. You know, I was kind of worried I was running late. You know, my car ran out of gas. I had to go get pull-ups for the kids. And so I was like, hey, Lewis, jump on, you know, because he broke in and was stealing my internet and my power. He was trying to recharge his hybrid Hyundai.
Yeah, he's probably going to pirate that from Steph right now.
Probably. So I want to start this off. I want to chat with you guys a little bit about, you know, how did Outpost 426 Studios come to be? Like, where at what point in time did you guys, you know, come up with the idea and you're like, this is what we want to do, and you know, what was kind of the you know, the first project that led to this? And whoever wants to explain that.
Cue the Disney princess like tinkling music in the background. Once upon a time.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, we've known each other 20 years, and Outpost 426 came about when we decided to do Scorpiana #1, as I recall.
Yeah,
we were kind of trying to think up a name for the shared brand.
Yeah,
and you know, there's a good explanation, and I gave it last time, and I think I'll leave it to CV for the explanation on it this time.
So sticking with our current like of similar movies, both of us are a fan of John Carpenter's The Thing and Alien and Aliens, and so we mashed that up into. We took a little bit of Outpost 31, which was the Antarctic outpost in The Thing, and LV 426 from Aliens, which I guess is the natural habitat.
Yeah, the colony.
Yeah, the colony, and we merged those together, and we have Outpost 426 Studios. So,
yep.
I think we did tinker around with other names. I don't even remember what they were at this point, but
you know, they just vanished into the mist. But yeah, Outpost 426 just serves it perfectly. I mean, the two films that will always be in my top 5. And Aliens is always going to be my #1. It just is. Yeah. And The Thing is going to be right up there 2 or 3. Or I mean, with the original Alien.
Yeah.
So you know, then you could probably throw in Die Hard and Predator. Can you tell what decade had the greatest influence on me as far as my thoughts? But yeah, I mean, we just had this really compatible entertainment view of how we like our movies and how we like our things, and that's one of the things that's really driven the compatibility. I mean, you know, there are going to be differences around the edges, but you know, when it comes to, you know, what they call the Venn diagrams, the 2 circles or multiple circles, ours almost overlap entirely. You know, I mean, just with a little bit around the edges, you know, and so it's been easy for us to collaborate and come up with ideas and share ideas and to come up with these comic books that we like to do and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, it's just been a really fruitful partnership, and that's I mean, it was obvious from the get-go. Oh, Wendy's in the house.
What's up, Wendy?
I mean, it was obvious from the get-go that we had the same things in common. And it just, you know, honestly, I think it was crowdsourcing that finally pushed us over the edge, because previously you would have to self-publish your own stuff at great expense and get it distributed, and you didn't know if any of that was going to line up. But this, it was a no-brainer. We just said, well, let's just take one of our ideas, flesh it out, and do it. And hence Scorpiana came to be.
And even that in and of itself, coming up with Scorpiana was a bit of a process. I mean, essentially, Scarlet Steel was really the first thing we started working on of sorts together. And Scorpiana was originally a character designed to be part of a superhero group. And I don't even know why she ended up. I think she just kind of stood out from the group. She had
Well,
kind of a unique
I,
look.
I remember. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, the genesis of the character, as I recall, was at the time we were talking about putting together a super team, but it was kind of different. It was actually going to be basically a giant monster book, and these girls were going to be giant, and they were going to battle giant monsters. And part of what was going to be the conflict is that the people who were going to be eligible for the treatment to become Leviathans, as it was going to be called, you kind of couldn't just pick anybody. I mean, they had to be specifically compatible with whatever the science was. And one of the characters happened to be this badass Latina who, at the time, was a Sicario. She was actually someone who had tangled with the DEA and things like that. And I seem to recall that when I came up with her character, CB had mentioned someone that he had seen in a certain beach type environment who had this amazing scorpion tattoo. And I was like, oh, really? And so the wheels started turning, and making the name revolve around a scorpion was given. And we said, well, why don't we go with a more superheroine oriented direction with her? And the name Scorpiana, I don't know who originated it, but it stuck.
Right.
And I remember that I threw some possible secret identity type names, in terms of Clark Kent, Diana, Prince, that sort of thing, at CB, and he said, I like Elena Santos. And I was like, done. And so, I mean, that's how we work, we just kind of throw ideas back and forth and stick them in the blender, and what comes out, is what we go with. And yeah, hey, guess what? We like it. So,
I think our collaboration is pretty easy between the two of us. It's hey, what about this? What about that? Yes, no, good, go, roll with it. And
the only time we come into any sort of mild disagreement, and it really is mild, is when you want to put someone in something imaginative, and I'm like, but where are the bikini and hooker boots? I mean, that's great. That's great for club wear. That's great for the runway. But if she's going to be fighting crime, for crying out loud,
Yeah.
And so, we come to consensus on that stuff too. I mean, the height of the
starts with the mutual like of that look.
That's it. There you go. So,
Well, the best takeaway from this is I love it. So the first story you guys are working on is this collaboration with these Leviathans, which I'm sure CB Zane was like, hey, let's throw, a King Kong-esque creature in there. But he goes from doing Leviathans to he creates the tiniest superhero, the Mighty Might.
Yeah.
Go from Leviathans to a tiny superhero.
Yeah. Actually, Might has been around for a long time too. I mean, one of the first characters we talked about, her name wasn't Scarlet Steel, but she was a red-haired superheroine, and she's gone through various changes over the years. But one of the classic pictures that some years back he drew, and hopefully I'll be able to trot that out at some point, was basically the two characters together. It was Scarlet and Might, and so he's had Might, on tap for at least a decade, in years I can tell. As for what I remember. Yeah, that was back when we were just. I mean, email was the only way we had to work in terms of exchanging stuff. Before that, believe it or not, snail mail. We actually did have to send a letter or two back and forth before we got the email part figured out. But Mike's been around for a long time, and it's great to see her out there. And I can't wait for Scarlett to join her, in a few months. So I'm well pleased with the direction that we've been able to take these things.
Yeah, from the project so far, you guys seem to collaborate well, which is like the number one thing. I mean, you have to have a symbiotic relationship with the person that you're working with, or, you can tell in the work that, hey, these guys disagree over stuff a lot,
Right. Well, I mean, one of the things that I really like is basically in the lead up generally before I hit a script, I like to talk with CB because, we have ideas about where we'd like the story to go. And we have ideas about what we'd like to see happen in the story. So basically accommodating all of that is part of the ingredients that go into the stew. And then once I get it down there, I'll send it to him. And if he has any extra things he wants in or changes or notes, whatever, I put them in there, and then that's what we roll with. So, it really is collaborative, and especially in the case of a character like Scorpiana that, we're both invested in directly. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just that simple. And even like with Scarlet, he's going to see that script before I finalize it. I mean, not just to keep the continuity with Outpost 426 projects straight, but also just because he gives me great feedback from a storytelling standpoint. And I can never get enough of that. I am never going to be one of those people who's like, hey, you don't like the story? How dare you? No, hell no. I mean, good ideas are good ideas. I don't care where they come from. And, he's full of good ideas. I'm full of something else, but he's full of good ideas. And so, like I said, it's just great to be working with somebody who is simpatico, I guess you'd say, with what you're trying to do as a creator. It's really good. I like it.
And I could echo those thoughts completely, because Mike was the first one to see the script for Might, and Mike too, and he offered some ideas with that I went with, and it's good. You have to. I think as a writer, and Russ, you probably know this too. Like, not only do you need it to I love having a sounding board to bounce ideas off of, because even if the ideas coming back at you don't work, sometimes it's enough to stir something up. You're like, oh, now I've got it. I know where I'm going, even if it isn't the idea thrown out. And then, of course, you kind of need an editor too, a separate set of eyes to not only find mistakes, but hey, this isn't quite working, or was this your intention? Maybe you need to do this or that. And I think Mike and I both do that for each other, which is super cool. And oh my gosh, it's so important to the process.
Yeah. Super important. Yeah. I mean, that was the best part, sharing the book. I shared it with Smithers. I shared it with Philip Russert. I shared it with Wendy, and, they read it and Jack, they all read it way before it was listed on Kickstarter. And I'm like, hey, read through this, see what you think, and I was mean to Wendy, and I stopped it at chapter 3, and then there was no words after it. So she gets to it and she's like, oh, why are you on the live show tonight? I need more of this book right now. But, it was great getting feedback from them, and that's what I can't wait for. All the books are out now. I'm actually packaging up the last 3 comps. So everybody should be getting their comps except for 3 people. And actually, they've all been delivered now. But I'm so excited for feedback. I don't care if you hate it, you love it. If you didn't like it, tell me why. What do you need more of and what do you need less of? What didn't work for you in the book? If you're just not into that genre, there's nothing really you can do to fix that. But is there something that you didn't, that just stuck out and you're like, I can't work past this? That way, when you write book 2, you can cater to more people and, you can improve yourself, because you never want to be like, I'm the best, comic book writer. I'm the best book writer. I'm the best artist out there. Once you stop growing, you're screwed. You never want to stop being hungry.
Yeah. I will never ever be under that illusion. I'm just good enough to know how good I'm not.
Exactly.
Seriously, I mean, there are so many people who are laboring under that thing they call the Dunning-Kruger effect, which are, the Ed Wood syndrome is another way you can put it. People who are so convinced of their brilliance and their genius that, they think they just got that gift of talent, of extraordinary talent that mankind has never known or seen. And, those are the people to watch out for. And the other type, unfortunately, the people who are really resistant to criticism are often the most insecure. The ones who are basically, they're always comparing themselves. And so whenever you dare to offer something like some kind of feedback, they resent it. And I was never going to be that person. The only path to getting better is by listening to people who have a legitimate observation about your work. So yeah, Russ, you're spot on about that. You just have to.
You got to cater to the fans.
Yeah, you have to, and I think it's also important to develop, I guess I'll say, a thick skin when it comes to receiving criticism. And eventually you get to the point, like this was me with portfolios and going to cons, showing my work around, and it was like I just wanted to burn everything that I showed for years and years. But you know, I took all the things I listened to, I tweaked the things I needed to, and eventually you get to a place where you're able to filter out the bullshit, so to speak. Where you're like, okay, great, thanks for your critique, you're not helping me at all.
Right.
Or you, oh my gosh, thank you so much, that was the best critique I've ever had. So I think as creators of whether it's the written word or, you know, the pen and the pencil, first and foremost, you're your own worst critic. And then after that, you know, you look for feedback. And like you said, you want to hear from the fans, you know, like it or not, that gives you a direction to go from.
Exactly.
You know, even if it's a simple line like, oh, love the story or love the art, you know, even something as simple as can't wait for the next, that's exciting. That's energy. That's a battery, you know, to keep going. So
one thing I have found that, generally speaking, you know, you've been soliciting feedback long enough when you start to recognize the people who are giving you the best feedback are the people who are encouraging you to keep doing it. And I mean, there are a few exceptions. I mean, I've never had the Neil Adams treatment because I'm not an artist. You know, I've never gone up to Neil at a convention and shown him my stuff, and because I'd had no stuff to show. You know, as an artist, and you know, I've heard that he's famously hard on artists, but at the same time, if you know that going in, you will get outstanding advice from the guy. So I'll talk about the thick skin part. But there are other people that you show things to, and you know, you consider them to be on or near your level, and the advice they give you is less constructive, and it's almost more passive aggressive. And those are the people you start to learn to kind of tune out, because they are the ones I talked about, the insecure people, or you know, earlier. They fall into that category, unfortunately. They're the people who are really measuring their sense of talent and worth against yours. And you know, you don't want, art doesn't have to be a competition. It's not a zero-sum game, and there isn't this vast list of people who are better than somebody else out there in the universe. I mean, you know, you're as good as you are, and someone else is as good as they are. And if you've really got, I guess you'd say, an open heart, you know, you're going to give people honest but constructive criticism, and you're not going to try to make them walk away feeling like, man, this is garbage. Why did I even bother to, you know, write this, draw this? Why am I bothering to try to be an artist or a writer or, you know, artistic? So that's kind of how I look at it. You start to learn which sources are really good for the best criticism and which ones are just trying to chase you off, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, one of the fun things about following CB's journey is I love, you know, him coming out of his shell here recently, you know, after watching him for a while. I mean, it's been going on, I think, 2 years now. And, you know, you started doing the Zaney style. You know, that was a really cool thing. You know, you asked, you're like, hey, you know, what do you guys think? Should I try doing this in Zaney style, or should I do this my style? And everybody's like, do it in Zaney style. And it really fueled your passion to do it. And you...
Lewis, Blue Thing is in the hizzy.
Oh, he must have made it to steps. That was quick.
Wow.
I don't know if he realizes he opened the show for you.
Yeah, I don't think he knows that he opened the show. So, you know, that was really quick, Lewis. You know, kudos for reaching steps. And, like, you know, how long we've been live? 25 minutes? Wow, you must have the DeLorean. Did you take the engine out of the DeLorean and put it in your Hyundai?
He found the 1.21 gigawatts, and he's...
Yep, the gigawatts. Boom. But, you know, like I said, you know, that was one of the cool things about following UCB is, you know, you asked about it, and you were really, off, you know, well, I don't know what the word, on the fence about it. That's what I was looking for. You're really on the fence about it. You're like, I don't know how the crowd's going to take it. You know, so what do you guys think? And I think everybody was just like, CB, do it. Do the Zaney style. And so it really fueled your passion where you started cranking out more Zaney style pieces. And, you know, it really took off. And it was really cool to see, you know, the fans really fuel your passion to do the art style that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, the style that I think most people see, like the more realistic style, is my style. But the zany style is something that's been in, like, I could go back 30 years probably to a sketchbook and pull out. Zany style is always there. And I always used it as a way to just get a feel for a character because it was loose, it was fun. You know, whether I was drawing something like the Hulk or a Xenomorph or Might, it just, I don't know, there was something that was fun, and it was just a deviation from what I normally did. And it's just always been kind of on the back burner for me, but I never threw it into comics. And as I started working with more artists, and I mean, this kind of piggybacks off of what Mike was saying too about, you know, nobody's the best. You know, there's always someone. The thing is with art, it's so subjective, you know, and what one person likes, another one doesn't. I mean, just look at the names that we deal with on a regular. You know, Steph Wilson's style is nothing like Keith Garvey's style. And
Right.
Keith's is different than mine, and mine is different from Ash Mahdi's, and his is different from Courtney, you know, and on and on. And everybody has something that they like, and the zany style is something that I don't know, like I said, it was just always there, and I never really brought it out. So I was glad that it got a good response, and you're certainly going to be seeing a lot more of it. And there's actually the backup story that Wendy wrote in Might. I drew zany style. I did, you know, like that 6-page story about Might's prom zany style, and to me it really fit her character. I just think it's a more natural style for her and what I want to do with Might, because it's playful, it can still be sexy, but it's still storytelling when it's all said and done, and it's fun. It gives me an outlet that way too. So I appreciate that, Russ. Thanks.
Yeah, you're very welcome. He says, "Squee prom." It was perfect.
Well, I had a good story to work from, so.
So I want to back up a little bit for the people that don't know you, CB, and for the people that don't know you, Michael. And CB, I want to start with you. So you're an artist. How did you transcend into art? You know, is this something that you always wanted to do, or is this something that you just kind of fell into?
It's something that I've always done. Like my mom, when she was alive, always talks about how she used to punish me by taking away my sketchbook when I was little, so I couldn't draw. And so it's something that I've always done. And I found my passion for comic books probably somewhere in the 4th or 5th grade. I remember, back before there was really your local comic book shops, and you had to get your comics at the local drugstore or the shopping, market. And, I'd always ask her, that was my reward for going shopping with Mom. I either got a comic book or I got a Mad magazine. And, and I loved the art in Mad magazine. I used to try to draw that too. And I just kept going with that. And I had a real good friend growing up who was into comics. So we used to, like, when we had our sleepovers, we were making our own X-Men comics, and then we started creating our own characters. And I think we had a run. We used to make like 10-page stories. And we had a run of like 20 issues of a superhero group called the Seekers. And, we kept going with that. And my goal coming out of high school was to go to an art school. But then football got in the way. And it was really tough to find a good football school that, had an art program too. So I put art on the background for a little bit until I was getting ready to travel to an away game, and I needed something to read on the bus. So, I went down to the college bookstore and I picked up an X-Men, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm right back into this. So then I started drawing in my dorm room again. And I decided when I graduated from college, I was going to give myself a year to try to break into comics. And I got a couple nibbles here or there, and I thought things were going to go really well. And then things went like completely dry for a while. And then I by chance ended up hooking up with Devil's Due Publishing, and did a G.I. Joe piece about the Dreadnoughts, the biker gang. And so I did 2 of the 3 issues of Dreadnoughts with Devil's Due and Hasbro. And then shortly after that, I hooked up with Big Dog Inc. and kind of the rest is history, you know. And like Mike said, when we got that chance, when Kickstarter, you know, and crowdfunding became a thing, that was our avenue to finally get a way to do what we'd been talking about for probably a decade. So that was our avenue. So that's kind of my story.
Let me read. No, there I am. Somebody called me, so it kicked me out. I could still hear you guys, but I couldn't see myself, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm going." So I'm sorry about that.
Now we can see you the whole time.
Now you see me making weird faces, going, "What is going on here?" So what about you, Hob?
Yeah.
Do what, CB?
I thought maybe you just, you know, let one rip, and you're like.
Hey, you know what is Rust Explode Studios? Maybe I was going to do a live flame plume. Check
Rust
this out,
explodes.
guys. The story's explosive. Listen to this great story. So, what about you, Hobcobbler? What was your entry into writing? You know, kind of how did you get into comic books and all that stuff?
You know, the funny thing is, unlike a lot of people who start off saying, I am a fill in the blank, I'm an artist. It
was both.
I'm an artist, or I'm a writer, or whatever have you. I just wrote. I mean, I think I'm like a lot of people. I just I had a story idea and I just wrote it, but I didn't think, oh, I'm going to become a writer one day. It was just one of those cases where I just did it. I also drew. I drew a lot, but I think this seems to be the thing that I have determined made the biggest difference in developing as an artist, as an illustrator or not. Because I got to where I could draw figures reasonably well and faces and things like that, but there was always something missing. And somewhere along the way, and I think I mentioned this to CB and some other artist friends of mine, and they had to discover how wrong this was. I was like, oh, I cannot draw from reference. That's cheating. I can't use a comic book. I can't take a comic book and copy the techniques and the styles in there because that's cheating. And it was the furthest thing from it because, like, one of my longtime illustrator friends who's worked for Marvel and DC and Archie and just about everybody drew Sonic, and it's just he's got so much commission work to do. He's up to his eyeballs with it, and that includes several covers for Brian Pulido's Lady Death series. He does all the throwback Marvel style and DC style covers, Lady Death looking like Captain America or whatever have you, you know, homage covers and things like that, and he did the exact opposite thing from the get-go. He was taking comic books and he was copying techniques and he's studying how they did everything, and he'd say, okay, I've mastered that one, now I'm going to move on. And it was a complete, I was like, wow, so you figured it out early. And of course it helped him become the artist he is. But I just never really put two and two together in terms of actually developing as a writer. I went to college fully expecting to be a computer programmer for the rest of my life. But somewhere along the way, I started to realize I'm not satisfied with this. I mean, I kind of went to college to learn more about computer programming because I had the idea that, well, maybe I'll write computer games. Maybe I'll be able to do that kind of stuff. I had written a text-based wrestling game on the Commodore 64 back in the 80s and stuff like that. And you could save your characters and they kept stats and it did all that great stuff. And so, I was like, well, I like to do that. But, there was still a piece missing between being able to do that and come up with like graphics heavy games and stuff like that. And so I started writing and I took a section or two of fiction writing at Southern Miss. And it just so happens that Southern Mississippi University of, go Golden Eagles, they have an outstanding literature program. And I actually took two sections of fiction writing under Stephen Bartholomew, who his family, his brothers are actually noteworthy writers. Their oldest brother, Donald, unfortunately died in a motorcycle accident when he was breaking in to the upper echelons of the literary scene before he died. And so I was, how do I put this? If I continued on from that level of writing, I would have, I think, been still okay. But that was kind of the iron sharpening iron moment for me, because striking out the adverbs, learning show don't tell, learning all of the fundamentals, cutting out regional dialect as much as possible, getting rid of dialogue tags, letting the story tell itself as much as possible, I guess, instead of you using words to tell the story too much, I guess, is lean, efficient prose. That really just kind of made it click. And it was that coupled with, while I was at Southern Mississippi, you remember I brought up Stephen Butler earlier. Well, he happened to be down the hall from me in the same dorm. And he and Mitch Bird, I don't know if you guys have seen Mitch Bird's work, but he's also worked at the higher level. And he is an outstanding artist with a style that I have not seen most other artists, replicate. Some people, they grow up on a certain type of art, and that's what they make. But Mitch was just his own bird, I guess. Pardon the pun, Mitch Bird. He just kind of had a brain for a certain kind of way of seeing things. And so I have these two outstanding guys down the hall, and there's another guy who runs frequent Kickstarters that can show up and be their kind of like writer with them, collaborator, Roland Mann. He's doing Silverline comics right now, Cat and Mouse and things like that. He and they started working for a company out of Southern California called Malibu. And they had Cat and Mouse and they had Silverstorm. And so they were, they already had their own properties, and Malibu was publishing them. But Malibu also would get the rights to various movie properties. They would get the rights to, say, Planet of the Apes. They would get the rights to, in my case, Galaxina, and other movies that had come out that were cult movies or known properties, but not something the big studios were chasing after to remake or do something with. So they would get those titles and they would put out comic book miniseries based on those. And so but when I saw them working for them, I was like, I can do that. I mean, honestly, I was like, wait a minute now, it never had occurred to me to try submitting my stuff. Some people are like born to do that. Oh, I've got to get this to a publisher. I've got to get this to an editor. And it just hadn't occurred to me. But then when I saw them do that, I was like, I think I could do that. And sure enough, I sent off a sample script to Malibu, and I got to know editor by the name of Tom Mason there. And I got a letter back, polite letter back, saying, we don't have anything right now, but we'll keep you in mind. I figured that was my form of rejection. And then it was like a month later, and he was like, okay, we've got this thing that we'd like you to write. And I was like, what? You really want me to work for you? You're actually going to pay me to write something for you? And that was like it. I got started. And next thing you know, I worked with a nobody named Leonard Kirk, who would go on to do Star Trek and Star Wars comics and Supergirl and Black Panther. And he's just been doing stuff for Marvel and DC ever since, drawing 100 pages a day. He's a machine. I just don't understand how that guy does what he does. But the bottom line is that, I got to know some people along the way. And that was how I got in, was the fact it was almost like I backed into it. The story's like what you did, CB, in terms of, like, I'm going to try to make this work. I really am. That makes me feel kind of bad in a way, because I know so many writers in a similar capacity as artists who, they just throw things out there, they get rejection letter after rejection letter after rejection letter, and they frame the first few because, like, oh yeah, this shows that I'm on the path, and then after a while the discouragement sets in, and eventually some of them will make it, I guess you'd say. But, in this case, I just I half-assed it. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, Like I said, I kind of backed into some of the gigs I got, and then the Kickstarter thing appeared, and suddenly that's just working. So, it's kind of like, I don't know, fate wouldn't let me get away from doing this creative stuff one way or the other. And I kept meeting the right people, like CB, for example, Stephen, Leonard, people like that. I mean, I would get to know people who were also doing, but they were mostly artists. I mean, it's kind of weird. Writers don't form communities in the same way. They tend to stay by themselves a lot. I mean, it's or they don't tend to. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't writers groups and things like that. It's just that you don't see a lot of conventions like the comic book conventions. That's mostly about the art. I mean, it really is. Let's be honest. And so you're likely to meet artists than you are to really like hook up with other writers and that sort of thing. At least that's been my experience. And so, anyway, didn't mean to be so long-winded about it.
No, it's fine. You know what? This is what the show's about. I try not to talk a whole lot about the projects because we do talk about the projects and we lead up to the projects. But a lot of what matters to me is how did you get to where you're at right now? How did you get on this path? How did you guys meet? How did this collaboration come together? Because these are, people can ask questions about the projects anytime and send you a message, or people can see you at a con and ask you about a character. But people don't get the time to get to know you as a person. What kind of things were you into? How did you get into writing? How did you get into doing art? What other things did you do growing up? How did you discover comics? What was your first comic you read? These are all things that I really enjoy hearing about, and that's what I try to gear my show around. So don't ever be sorry for being long-winded, because I enjoy this thoroughly. Yeah. And as a writer, I can agree with what you're saying. Is I enjoy collaborating and talking with other writers, but I find myself more comfortable in the artist community, and I don't know why. I do have an author community, and they're great people, but I have a bigger community in the artist circle, and I love hanging with all you guys. I love being, creative, getting in the chat and giving you guys a hard time, and being, crazy in the comments, and, having a good laugh. And, then, I do my kindergarten art here. You got Stuff Pool.
You can't beat Stuff Pool.
No, you can't.
That's a distinctive look, I got to say. I mean, I've done something similar after I had sort of like, there we go. He's got this Stuffzilla. It was like Stuffpoolzilla.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he's got, and then there you got the Mighty Might.
Oh, there we go.
I was going to color it, and then I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to leave it line art. It looks great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Dustin has given us a great compliment. Loving Scorpiana. Thank you very much, Dustin. That is most appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's just you and me, Russ. LOL. Mike, I can run with you.
I don't know if you mean physically run. I would probably have a stroke if I tried right now, but I'll improve that.
I was literally cracking up at this because I was like, I should so send Dustin an invite and just bring him on the show with him sitting on the porcelain throne. You just hear him in the background. Like, sorry about that, guys. I forgot to mute my mic.
All right. Listen, I may trademark this right now, but you know how Zach Galifianakis says between two ferns?
Between two ferns.
Maybe I'll start doing a show like two guys on the can, or just on the can.
Do it. No shame.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, I can just see it now. We've got like a Coors Light, we've got like a wig on with like some mullets, and we're like, hey y'all, what you up to today? We're gonna sit here and we're gonna talk about comic books. Just let one rip, have like 3 cans of beans for breakfast.
There you go.
And this courtesy flush is brought to you by Coors.
Right.
That's going to be the ad segment, the courtesy
flush. You'd have to have
branded Codex Entertainment.
You would have to have branded plungers.
Yeah. Right? Oh my gosh.
Sorry, plugged it up. Hang on a second.
And the Golden Plunger Award this year goes to our sponsor, Codex Entertainment LLC.
Mike, you were talking about fate, though. Sometimes you just got to be in the right place at the right time. I heard this quote somewhere. It was something like, "There is no fate but what we make."
I'm trying to place it. The Exterminator 3, I think it was. Something, you know, I need your dress, your purse, your boots.
So you guys mentioned that you had the Outpost 426 idea. You guys started collaborating. You had this Leviathan story that you had going on with the characters, and you created Elena Santos, who eventually became Scorpiana because CB seen some sexy Latina on the beach with a scorpion tattoo. You threw it in the blender and you came up with it. So when did you guys actually decide to fully turn the direction of doing the Elena Santos story and doing Scorpiana as its standalone comic? How did you get to that point?
I think it came down to once we finally settled on the character. Again, kind of like when we were talking about collaboration, that Elena's story just kind of naturally flowed between the two of us. What we wanted to do with her, even her power, just sort of evolved. I guess I can tell you where it came from. Writing onto it, but because he had this vision for that opening scene for Scorpiana 1. I think still one of my favorites because it just right off the bat established her as a badass, and just set the tempo for who she was, the deadliest woman in comics.
Yeah, I can tell you two things about both that opening scene and her powers. First, do you remember a script that I showed to you? One of the first scripts I showed to you years and years ago. You even did a few pages for it, for Star Spangled Superheroine Liberty.
Yep.
Yeah. The antagonist who actually wound up working with Liberty toward the end of that book was a character named Widowmaker. And I showed you a picture that I had Adam use when we were at Pensacon, and he was available to do sketches for $50 a piece. And there was more talent in terms of writers and artists than there were attendees at that show. It was the only time that show happened. But I think they've had Pensacons after that, but that one folded after one gig. But she had this leotard with an red hourglass on it, and she was superpowered like Elena, and she had this power where if she got her hands on you, it would trigger massive cellular disruption. And later we got to talking about Elena, who would become Elena, Scorpiana, and we were thinking about powers, and I was like, well, wait a minute now. I've got a character whose powers would be perfect for her, and I'm not using her, so let's just go ahead and apply them. And as for the scene you're talking about, where at the very beginning she goes into the hotel suite, and this thug, drug lord, drug lieutenant type guy is there. I had actually written that, not really intending it for any specific character at the time. I just had this concept of this beautiful girl going into a hotel suite, sort of Mr. and Mrs. Smith style, if you remember that opening scene with Angelina Jolie, and basically tossing around some thug because, she needs information about something. And you were talking about how should we start this book, and I had this little text bit, and I was like, well, how do you like this? And you were like, it's perfect, use it. And so I adapted it to Elena, and off we went. I mean, it just kind of, it's almost like you talked about with There Is No Fate But What We Make. Yeah. It's like these little pieces were kind of like lying around, and suddenly it's like, oh, that's what that's for. That's what that's for. And combining them together, it results in what we got. Yeah. So that's the genesis of the character and her powers in terms of on my end anyway. And then after that, we developed the universe because it was necessary to come up with the reasons for you know, the superheroes and the world around them and how they acquire their powers and things like that. So we came up with Quantium, and we came up with a team that deals with Quantium, you know, when it emerges around the world. You know, you have to do your world building so that everything fits together, because we knew there would be more characters. We knew that Mike was coming. We knew Scarlet Steel was coming. We just knew we were going to be populating this universe with other, you know, superheroes and superheroines. So, you know, that's where a lot of your collaboration and discussion comes in. I mean, Quest was largely CB's idea, and in fact, he had come up with a scene that basically I adapted the script to accommodate, and included some extra characters, and it was super. So, you know, talk about how collaboration results in better work. I mean, it really, really did in this case. You don't want too many chefs, but just the right number of chefs, and you get something really beautiful. I think, anyway. I think. Yeah. Talk on it. But of course, I'm biased, and CB's biased. But you know, so far we haven't had anybody like send the books back to us like having peed on them or anything. So you know, that's so good.
But yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling through here for those of you in the audience or anybody that goes back and watches this later and showing off. I did pop the link in there for anybody that wants to go check out the project. We won't spend a whole lot of time looking over things, but I did want to kind of show off some of the art. You guys have acquired a nice...
We're very pleased with the cover lineup that we came up with. I mean, there isn't a weak one in the bunch. And, you know, not every project can say that. And at the same time, I think we've got the right number, because I've seen a lot of projects, they just sort of like have a blizzard of potential covers. And I guess I can understand why, but you know, if you're only selling 3 of this one and 2 of that one, that sort of thing, it sort of defeats the purpose, I think. But having the right number so that it doesn't overwhelm potential buyers, and having people that are popular with backers, and you know that they produce good quality art in a timely way, and you know they're not gouging you. It all works out really well, and you know that's actually the business side of it too, because you're trying to weigh your outlays versus your expected returns and so forth. But and there's one thing I love about that with what you're scrolling by, the interiors there. I have always been so happy to show off the interiors from this book, because you know they look so good, and compared to a lot of projects, I think a lot of guys don't get the fact that you can have nice covers, but when you get to the interior artwork and it's weak, you don't want somebody buying a book only because the gust covers or whatever are nice. You really want to appreciate the whole thing as a complete work. And CV just kills it on those interiors. And as far as just compatible colorists are concerned, I think Andrea's done a superb job.
Oh yeah,
what he's done thus far, and I think the result is, just in my humble opinion, it's a cut above so many projects, and that's one of the reasons why. Some projects they don't understand why they don't even make their funding goal, their modest funding goal. And you really want to get all the quality that you can in there before you put it out there in front of people. And if you've been around these things long enough, I mean, it's great to be enthusiastic about your work. And I wish everybody nothing but success. I want them all to get funded. I mean, because it benefits all of us if everybody gets funded, and does well. But the fact is that there are just a lot of people who, they're just going to look at a project and say, okay, maybe not. And you want to be that project that stands out. You really do. And so the interiors on this book are, if they had any doubts, when they suddenly get down to what the art looks like inside the covers, and they're like, wow, this is great. I mean, I know we have sold a ton of those because of that.
Oh, so yes.
Yeah, so a couple questions.
Yeah, so yes, Dustin, I wanted to, that's one of the things I wanted to touch on as I was scrolling through there for anybody that's watching or watching this back. If you are interested in this project and you're thinking, oh man, they're on issue 3. Yes, there are back issues available. You can get issues 1 and 2. There's a plethora. it's a plethora.
Yeah.
And there's a plethora of covers that you can
Yeah.
get from issues 1 and 2.
Yes.
And you can get issue 3, so you can get the whole shebang
Yes.
and check them out.
Yeah, Dustin asked to get the previous physical copies. You absolutely can. It's part of the add-ons that we threw in. And the metal, and he's asking about the metal add-on prints.
Yeah.
You wouldn't happen to have an example of that, would you, CB?
I do. They're bagged right now, but
Okay. Oh, yes. Oh,
so this is one of them, and they are just prints.
Right.
Okay? And then,
Happen to metal. Happen to be actually printed on metal, and they're reflective and beautiful. I mean, I didn't realize
they look gorgeous.
Yes, they do. Oh, Lord.
The colors just absolutely like leap off.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah. It just pops off of, the thing. Yes, Wendy says, look at the metal magic. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Wendy is our production manager when it comes to those, and they are just absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, and Lewis is saying the number of backers in Pledge Amount got higher. Must be doing something right. Well, actually, Lewis, you're totally right. But one of the things that we did, it has something in common with Lily the Demoness, the last campaign that Lewis ran, which was something that really pushes up your average per backer, I've noticed, is when you make the previous issues available as add-ons. I underestimated the number of new backers who had not seen or heard of Scorpiana before, who were going to come in and say, how do I get back issues? Mm-hmm. And suddenly, I worked with CB. I was like, how do we do this? And should we throw them in as add-ons? And we did. And next thing you know, poof, I mean, it just shot up like a rocket. So that's, lesson learned, make sure your previous issues are available in some form or fashion. And, because you're going to have people who want that. And so, yeah, absolutely. It made a difference, a big difference.
Yeah.
So, studying other projects and what they do is obvious business practice. You want to see how other people are doing business, I guess is the best way to put it.
So do you guys have like a set number of issues that you have planned for Scorpiana, like as far as this?
I would say that we're looking at it more like story arcs, as in Scorpiana is just one of those properties. I know we want to continue. Her sister Maria, we definitely want to see more of her, because not only is have we been trying to get to her. Basically, she's been the MacGuffin that's been driving Scorpiana forward all along. But she's also sexy as hell, and she's got this awesome firepower going on with big blue fire wings and stuff. And that was one of the reasons why I was pointing out the interior artwork, because we decided, people have to see, Maria. We have to give them a tease of what's going to happen, going forward. But Scorpiana, we could wrap up this current story arc while starting another one based on it, in the next issue. And that's probably how we'll go about it, because there's, not to give too much away for the people who haven't read it, but the fact is that the program that created Scorpiana and Maria is this Black Ops program, and it's been overseen by this mad scientist genius named Pluto Moore, who I've been aching, by the way, CB, I've been aching to work with that guy since you showed me a sketch of him for Motion years ago. I was like, Motion's awesome, but this bad guy character here, I mean, there's just something about him that just begs to be brought in as a villain,
I would have to look through my sketchbook, because I remember showing that to you, and I remember when we were talking about the villain, you were like, yeah, we need to use this guy, and I'm like, who? And you showed me that sketch that I had shown you. I'm like, oh, that guy.
The sketch I remember was this guy, and he had these glasses that made his eyes look like they're bugging out, but it was really just like special lenses, and he was bald, and he was just kind of like screaming at the camera, and I was like, that is somebody I gotta remember. He's going to make a really good mad scientist bad guy, and sure enough, he just fit into this book.
While you were talking, I grabbed this sketchbook within reach to see if I had like anything Like here is like a Leviathan sketch from way back.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes,
Something like that.
That was some of the concept art for Leviathan, because they were going to be throwing down in major cities and battling, creatures. But the thing about the creatures was that we were going to try to go with a mix of people in costumes, but at the same time a little more advanced, as in practical effects costumes, not like complete CGI. And he was really nailing that look there, and it was good stuff.
But it's funny because this just happened to be like Leviathan stuff, and like I came across like this Zaney style that's in my sketch.
Oh, look at that!
That's awesome.
Sweet. It's like a superhero.
Actually, my daughter colored this for me, and then there was this one too that was like working on this particular character.
Oh, nice!
That's beautiful.
I don't even know how old this. I used to date all my art like with a year when I signed off, but yeah, I don't have a date. I don't see one yet. I see. I'm looking to see if Pluto Mars is in here.
I have it digitally. If you'd like me to share that with Russ.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. I'm just trying to. Man, there's a lot of like.
I can bring that right up because I can just back out into my CD Zane directory and go into my motion subdirectory.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Russ, what's the best way to get this picture to you?
So if you want to share a screen, you can share a screen, or you can just message it to me, and I will transfer it into StreamYard. It'll only take a minute.
Can I drag it into private chat?
I don't think it'll let you drag it into private chat.
Okay, I'm actually gonna go over to Facebook, and
That's fine.
I'm going to. Here we go.
Ding.
Hang on a second. Did it arrive? No, I don't guess it did.
Not yet.
Pluto's not in here, but I do have like. Gosh, I'm seeing stuff for like the logo for Leviathan. Like. Just working out the look of it.
That's the best to see in concept art. I love that.
Right?
Seeing how the ideas were thrown
favorite
around.
things at cons, like when artists have like sketchbooks, just to kind of go through and like this is a villain I was working on that, like Mike talking about, like using a story, like that he had previously, but like this became. I don't know, maybe this was even the early sketch of Azen from Into the Suck.
There we go.
Like working on the various masks and stuff like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
that guy with the energy blades.
But yeah, that just happened to be within reach. I don't know. I probably have the sketchbook somewhere around here, but I don't know. That'll be for another show. I'll have to do my research.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to blip out for a second. I am still here. I'm just adding this photo in so I can show everybody. Let's see, photo library, add. Yeah. So, and then you guys, so the exciting news is you guys are coming out with a new story here pretty soon with BlackRabbit.
That is one of CD's babies.
Yeah, BlackRabbit was a character that I had developed. She's originally going to be a villain for Might, and as her look evolved, she just didn't fit into the Might verse. So she was just a little too sexy for the Might verse, I guess, if there's such thing. And so I decided that I was going to give her own story, and I kind of took a scene from Might that I had written with BlackRabbit in it and used that as the kind of catalyst for telling the story. It was a scene where she breaks into a museum and steals this artifact, and Might she wasn't even going to be like a primary villain at first. She was just going to be someone who is kind of behind the scenes, and you see a snippet of her here. a snippet there, and everyone's wondering, you know, like, you know, who is she? And, you know, eventually she comes to fruition, and she just, I don't know, she became this story. There it is. That's the original sketch from my sketchbook itself right there. And his look stays pretty much, you know, right on with that.
Absolutely.
I like drawing Pluto more. He's kind of fun. Just, you know, just, you know, he's easy to draw for me.
Yeah, talk about an exaggerated kind of look. You know, he'd actually fit in with you know, the Zaney style. You know, you know, he would almost translate one for one in terms of whatever book he goes into.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Because he has sort of cartoon features to him, but still, I think everyone has sort of seen a Pluto more somewhere too. Like, you know. So yeah, so that's the quick evolution of Pluto more there. But just finishing up real quick with BlackRabbit. So BlackRabbit ended up becoming something I figured. I have Mike, who is sort of the classic story that I'm telling. We have the sort of R-rated and sometimes a little bit more with Scorpiana, and then BlackRabbit ended up. She became my erotic, mature story. I describe her as, you know, Catwoman meets 50 Shades of Grey without the BDSM in it. But still, I wanted to be able, and this kind of harkens back to stuff that Mike talks about like, I think you use the phrase thoughtful smut. Is that what it is?
Intelligent sleaze.
Intelligent sleaze, something like that. So, but I wanted to be able to, it's an erotic story first and foremost. And, but I didn't want it to be gratuitous. I didn't want it to, I wanted the art to be beautiful. And I really think with BlackRabbit that almost every page feels like its own cover. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm getting my first look at interior colors, I think, this weekend. So
Nice.
see how
that's awesome.
That's a process in the working in and of itself. But I have a few covers ready for that. A couple other artists lined up. One or two that I'm sort of waiting on, and I'm excited. A lot of people are asking about it, and I can't wait to get it out there for people. It's going to be very different. It's just a different format too. I just want it to be very unique. So it's going to be fun, and you know, probably want to lock the door when you read it.
And I want to shout it out there. If you guys do not follow CB Zane, if you guys are not a member of Artist Alley Shopping Network, you need to go add CB as a friend. You need to go find Artist Alley Shopping Network and add it, and come and watch CB Zane, Steph Wilson, April Reina, all these wonderful artists that get on there and do these live shows. But by not being a member of this group, you guys missed it last night where CB went on and he finished up a piece of BlackRabbit. And so if you guys want to get a shot of what she looks like, you can go add him and check it out, or he's going to show it right here.
There it is. That's kind of a look at BlackRabbit right there.
Wendy said, I am excited for BlackRabbit.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of backpedaling a little bit too, you know, we were talking about, you know, trying to get stuff out there, and, you know, like you had said, Michael, with trying to, you know, people don't know who Scorpiana was because you guys really weren't well known when you first started putting the project out. But that's what's so great about, you know, you guys and Lewis and, you know, Wendy and all that is we do the cross promotions. You know, we do like we had the metal art card, you know, cross promo going on with our Kickstarters, and Wendy does the same thing. But also we have these anthology projects, you know, like you guys did the anthology project for Nebula Pearl, and then another anthology project Wendy is heading that CB you've done a piece for, and that I'm finishing up a piece for. Yes, I am still working on it, Wendy, and you'll have it soon. But you know, it's a great opportunity for people to see your writing style or your art style or both, or you know, and you to get your name out there more than just trying to promote your own stuff. You can have fun. You can think outside of the box, get away from your character, step away for a while, and do something different.
Yeah.
Have fun at it, and get a broader reach of your fandom. And these people will be reach out and look for some of the other stuff that you've done. So
That's a
I love
really
all you
cool
guys
part.
for that. It's
Yeah.
a great community.
It's a real cool part of the process too, is seeing what other people do with your creation. Like, you look at Marvel and all the great artists over the years, and DC, and everyone has their own little take on a character, even though it's Superman. His hair is a little different when John Byrne draws it versus Jim Lee. Batman is a little dark. Sometimes it's the long ears, sometimes it's the short ears, and everybody has their preference. But that's one of the things I think is really cool, like especially like with the current cover that we have for Scorpiana 3, you get to see the lineup, everyone's interpretation of Scorpiana on there, and it's really cool. And you brought up April's name, and April contributed an original art of Scorpiana that it is super beautiful. I'm going to show it here because it's going to become part of the campaign in the next day or so.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It looks painted. Like, this isn't going to do it justice, and it's got like glitter in it, like all over it. It's a gorgeous looking piece. Like, to see it like in person, like I opened it, I was like, oh wow, like this looks like it's painted. It's a beautiful piece to hold. I don't think this is even doing it justice, but like I said, you can kind of see the glitter in there. But that's going to become part of the campaign this week, I think, right, Mike?
Yes, we have to. Yeah, we're going to have to push something new out to the backers, and also add, because the package that included your original sketch of Shada has become available once again, and the one with Ryan Kincaid's original art. Sold. I think the guy basically went with that one, and so that one's available, and we'll have April's available as a new package, and we also will be debuting the new print, and because we're going to have 4 total before the campaign's done.
Yeah.
And so that is coming up. Let's see, probably something new tomorrow, then something new Friday. That's usually how we've been spacing these things out, or Monday. We'll get to it Friday.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. I mean, we can even work with this one.
You see, that's entirely possible. I think that would be like the Wurlitzer Prize right there. I'm telling you. I'm amazed that one is still in your possession, to be blunt about it.
Yeah. So these are. We talked about Scarlet Steel, and here she is. And she's the girls of Outpost are superheroes, Mighty Might, and then Scorpiana, of course. So
yeah, that just came out terrifically, and make sure you've got something, got a high-res enough version of that one that it can at least be produced as a print for framing, because I can see that one going up on the wall somewhere around here for sure. Yeah, that is definitely one to have.
I wanted to elaborate on what CB said earlier. I love how he was like, I opened it and I seen there was glitter on it. He was like, oh shit, craft herpes, and he closed it back up. That's what I call it. I call it craft herpes.
You know what?
I hate when my wife uses glitter.
It honestly, it didn't do that. I don't know what April put it on with, but it's tight too. It's a beautiful piece. And I'm so glad she, I got to be part of that sort of drink and draw with Tom and DeBelfo and April, and so and Ryan, who did a piece for us. So, and they were gracious enough to just offer the pieces for us to use. So it's really, really cool of them.
That is really awesome.
Yeah, she does add the glitter magic. You're right, Wendy. It looks so good.
But yeah, no, that was fun. Doing we had. I just wanted to kind of talk about that for a second. Is whenever I was like, "Hey, CB, do you want to do a cross?" You were talking about seeing what people do with the characters, and to elaborate on that a little bit, it was funny because we were chatting about what we could do, and I was like, hey, maybe we can include Squee in something, from Into the Suck, and you're like, well, what ideas do you have? And I'm like, man, I don't know. And I'm like, what about Squee riding Wyvernite? And you're like, that would be badass. So, I go to Steph, and Steph does this, heavy metal Tarna homage with, Squee holding the sword riding Wyvernite. Yeah. And then Ruben Rosas just blows it away. How awesome was that to put Steph on one side and Ruben on the other? Mortal enemies.
So great.
And so it turned out great, and I love it because Squee is like one of my favorite characters from Into the Suck. I love how he just comes out with shit straight out of the top of his head, because that's me. I can so imagine myself playing Squee.
Yeah, Squee he's a fun character to write for that reason too. It's fun writing the banter between Squee and Ursula, because I mean, she's a scratch your balls, spit out the window kind of gal, and he's just like, you're not that bad. You're, it's a good dynamic. I have fun writing them, and there'll be more of Squee and Ursula in the next series, further into the Suck.
Well, I'm so excited for that. That was going to be my next question. Are we going to get more into the Suck? Since
we will.
The first one.
The plan is to release a trade paperback probably at some point in 2022, which will include some of the original sketch art and the covers and kind of behind the scenes stuff, and then I'll use that to launch into the next I guess mini series. Mike talked about how we plan things out in story arcs, and that's sort of what Into the Suck was. The story arc was 6 issues for the first one. The next one is a 4-issue story arc that I talked about before Keith Thomas passed away, who wrote the original one. We had talked about the direction we wanted Into the Suck to go, and one of the things we both simultaneously arrived at is the next one has to be further into the Suck, and then the one after that is even further into the Suck, or more further, and so that's how everything is going to continue with Into the Suck. And it's neat because that in itself is its own universe, because one of the things we talked about is that it doesn't always have to be about Ursula, because the Suck is an area. It's not like a person. But Ursula has been very well received, and people like Squee, so they'll continue to be the protagonists for the time being. But it's going to be a ride, and it's going to be fun. So
I'm definitely he says deeper into the Suck.
That could very well be one.
That sounds dirty. So I'm sure you guys are busy.
The woman with the smile in the naughtiest mind. I love it.
Beyond the Suck, a love story feature. It's Squee.
Maybe, you know what? That might be
that waffle
a love story featuring Squee. I could just see him, marrying a wall outlet or something. Like, every time I plug into her, it's a shocking experience. But I'm sure you guys are busy. You guys got a lot of stuff to do. I know it's kind of getting late, but I really enjoyed having you guys on. It's always fun when you're on. I love chatting about the history and these amazing projects, these awesome stories you guys are putting out. Super excited to get Mike. Super excited to get Scorpiana 3. Even more excited to check out BlackRabbit and further into the Suck. So you guys keep kicking ass and being awesome. And I'm going to give each of you the full screen, give you a chance to tell people who you are once again and where they can find you. So I will start with you, Michael, if I can get this to work properly. There we go.
Hey, what do you know? I'm full screen. Thanks to the show, I don't need an explicit introduction, but I am Mike Shoemaker, and I am the writer and co-creator of Scorpiana with my partner in crime, Zane. And we are just pleased as punch to be delivering this character and project to you under the auspices of Outpost 426 Studios. And just in terms of anything upcoming I've got, look for me to be leaking details out about Scarlet Steel going forward. And you can basically find me on Facebook I have a website with my previous comics credits on it at cobraclutch.com. That's like the wrestling hold, cobraclutch.com. And of course, just feel free to contact me anytime on any of those outlets, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you've got, or otherwise just be friendly. So, that's me. That's my story.
And don't forget to find me in my original comic, The Hobcobbler.
Like I said, I've got to throw exploding shoes at Spider-Man. Somebody's got to do it. So anyway.
And let me give you the full scene, Mr. CB Zane. Tell everyone where they can find you.
All right, so you can find me the easiest places on Facebook. You can find me Monday nights, 9 p.m., Artist Alley Shopping Network for the CB Zane Show. It's 2 hours of fun and sketching, and sometimes some decent art sometimes comes out. Also, I am trying to be more of a presence on Instagram. I do have an ArtStation page I occasionally post to. And then, of course, you can find me on Kickstarter quite often, especially right now with Scorpiana 3. These just came in today. I'm really the Mighty Might bumper stickers, the Peekaboo stickers, and then this little ditty that everyone's getting who backed Might. So those arrived today as part of the stretch goals for Might. And yeah, hopefully everyone continues to support Outpost 426 Studios and everything that we are doing with our endeavors. And for those of you that already are backing, is greatly appreciated. We thank you for being great backers. Nice. And then, thanks for being backers, and thanks for sharing out. Russ, having us on the show and doing this, anytime you can get a chance to promote what you're doing and get that word out there is hugely, hugely important. And, all the people that are, part of the audience right now that are commenting are great people when it comes to doing that.
Absolutely. That's one of the great things about doing it.
Comics.
That's one of the great things about doing it is you get to know so many people who are either, backers who just love these comics, or fellow comic project creators, Kickstarter creators, and often we are all the same because we back their projects and they back ours, and we just have the best time in the process. So it's really fulfilling in that respect.
Oh, get out of here! Those of us in the comments are just okay.
Come on, honey.
You're the smiliest person we know, and the naughtiest fairy. Don't make our heads big, CB. Well, thanks so much for being on tonight, guys. I'm going to kick you to the green room. If you guys want to hang out for a quick second to chat after the show, you're more than welcome to. If you got to run, I understand. But if you guys want to, please stick around. And thanks so much for being on the show tonight.
All right. Thanks, Russ.
Well, thank you for having us, Russ. We really
thanks, everybody.
You're very welcome. Guys, thanks so much for being here tonight. Once again, thank you for supporting indie creators. For those of you who watch this tonight, I appreciate you. For those of you who come back and watch this, we appreciate you as well. Please keep sharing. Please keep liking and commenting on posts. If you see this project being shared out, please like and comment on it. Help us beat the algorithms. Facebook has made it really hard to share this stuff because they see it. It's got the links in it. We've tried going around it by putting the links in the comments. Facebook has now caught that in the algorithm. So please comment, like, share, because sharing is worth its weight in gold. It helps us even greater than backing because it helps your friends see it who may not see it any other way. Also, if you can, please, if you can't afford to back a tier, at least, throw $1 at it. By backing it for $1, I have like 400 people that follow me on Kickstarter. So if I back a project for $1 that I can't afford at the time right now to actually fully back, those 423 people get an email stating that I backed this project. That helps tremendously too, because all my friends on Kickstarter that don't know that this project is on there, if I back it for $1, they now know about this project. So please always keep that in mind when you're going through and looking at Kickstarters. You really like it, you really support the creator, you're really not into that book, throw $1 at it. It helps everyone out tremendously. So guys, thanks so much for being here. Please remember, check out the CB4K auction. We have a few items left right now. We're still trying to hit that $2,500 goal. Also, I have the one chip challenge up right now. We are at $113. So we're only like $387 from me eating that super hot chip and making a fool of myself live for the kids. So please like, share, comment on that, get the word out. I am going to take 3 pieces that are remaining out of the CB4K auction, and I'm going to give those away to somebody who randomly donates $5 or more to that donation. You can direct donate. It goes through Facebook straight to Comic Books for Kids. I'm not even in the mediator of the money, so you know that the money's going straight to them and it's helping them immediately. With that being said, guys, please check out ZenoNightTitan.com. Pick up book 1. It's a great adventure. You won't regret it. Please check out Scorpiana 3. It's in the comments. Keep backing these great indie projects. And as always, this is Russ Explode Studios with projects that will blow your mind. You guys have a great night.